Welcome back, Miami Dolphins. Hit that like and subscribe if you like this video. Memberships will be available shortly, so if you would like to join that. But today we're going to be talking about watching these games and seeing, the Redskins, obviously, or sorry, I don't think I can say that. The Commanders against the Lions, and then the Bills against the Ravens and the Eagles, and blah, 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 blah. We kind of compare the Dolphins because obviously we wanted our team to be in this, but watching these teams compete this last Saturday and Sunday, we're going to discuss, are the Dolphins even close to getting to that point where we can win some of these games? Like, I think the one that you can base it around, it probably is the Detroit Lions and God, I almost said it again, the Commanders, because obviously Washington, rookie quarterback, new coach, all of that, and they're now going into the next round, into the championship game. And what we can take from this is basically what the Dolphins need to do going into this season, because a lot of people want to say that we're like way far off and this and that, but we have to recognize that you can also have a year like the Redskins. Honestly, coming into this year, the Redskins did not look like a good team. They looked like they got just drafted a rookie quarterback, and they were going to be building. So seeing what they're doing, I want to give you a little bit of hope. I think, again, we have all these analysts that'll say, like, we're this off, or we're that off, or this and that and the other thing. I don't think that that's ever the case with any football team besides, like, the worst ones in the league, like the Raiders or the Giants. Like, those teams are far off. The Dolphins, let's be real, guys. I mean, we're an offensive line, and I would say maybe like a safety away from being in contention, but mostly an offensive line. A lot of people want to sit there and say that we're missing a lot of stuff. Yeah, so are a lot of teams. The Philadelphia Eagles would probably be the epitome of, like, having basically everything. But that also comes down to coaching. And the Miami Dolphins, what we really are far from right now, which a couple tweaks and we're right there, it's the offensive line, baby. It's the offensive line. Like, come on, guys, let's just be real. And people want to talk about Tua. He's had the worst offensive line in the league since he's been in the league. I mean, you even look at the worst offensive line that's in the playoffs right now, it was the Rams or the Redskins, and they're like top 15. Tua has like bottom tier ranked like 26th offensive line the entirety of his career. A good offensive line coming into this offseason, I don't care who you are, it changes everything. The reason that Tua couldn't throw the deep ball very well this year, and we didn't really do it a lot, was not because teams caught on or any of that. It's because the offensive line, when Austin Jackson went down, was so bad that we just didn't have time for plays to develop. And the thing is again, the Redskins are the perfect kind of pinpoint of what you can think the Miami Dolphins could do. Of course, Jaden Daniels is a one of one, but, he still is a rookie quarterback. The coach is making him look like Cliff Kingsbury has done a great job over there with Jaden Daniels. But with Tua Tagovailoa, there's a lot of people that are going to say he sucks and all that, even though he has 100 passer rating. And, the Rams almost went to the championship game. Tua beat them. And they almost did it without Brandon Fisk, which Tua had to face Fisk and Jared Verse. And Tua beat them, and that we seem to forget. Like, we say he can't beat good teams, but this year he beat almost a NFC championship team. So this is what we have to really understand. The reason that we lose certain games is not because of Tua. It's because of the team that we have built cannot sustain these type of teams. So every team that we lose to, we categorize them as like good or bad teams. What good or bad teams are basically defined by, which if you look in the playoffs right now, it's what essentially happened, is they're all built around their offensive line and defensive lines. Look at every single team. The Washington Redskins are the only anomaly, but if you consider the Washington Redskins are getting to where they're at, and they still have a lot of holes on that team. Like, they need to fill a lot of holes. They are not a good team. Like, one of their starting corners is Noah Igbenogany, and we all know who that is. And their starting center is Michael Dieter. We have similar amount of pieces. It's just they built a much better offensive line for Jaden Daniels than Tua has. But when you look at all these teams besides that, the Detroit Lions, the LA Rams, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, all of these teams, there's one singular thing that they all have. It's the offensive line. They all have top 10 offensive lines, top 15, top 10 offensive lines. That's the difference. And the reason why we can't compete with these teams is because our offensive line is so trash that when we play these teams, the defensive line and the offensive line, you got to consider here this year. The only person that was really getting sacks this year was Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, and Chop Robinson. And then, all of them were like, Sealer led the team with, I think it's like 9 or 10. Everybody else had like 6. You're not really getting pressure on the defensive line, and the offensive line is getting destroyed by the other team's defensive line. This is why we can't hold. It's not Tua. It's not all the other players. It's because we haven't built the core of the team. Excuse me. We haven't built the core of the team. And the problem with that is that when we face these bigger, better teams, they're not better. They're just more physical than us because both of those sides of the ball suck, and we can't go with that. So going into this offseason, understanding that the playoff teams are built based upon their defensive line and offensive line, hoping that Chris Greer understands this. We're not that far away. If we build a good offensive line, we're getting players back. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb will be back. But if we build an offensive line that allows Tua at least 3 seconds to throw the ball, it's going to be a different outlook. We can play more physical. We can play more running style offense. We can play more play action. That's the thing. Like, Tua couldn't do any of that. So coming into this offseason, we are not that far away. But the priorities need to be heavily pushed in this offseason. Offensive line and defensive line. Because when you look at the playoffs, you get to see that's the reason that they're there. And that's the reason that we are where we are. But as always, guys, fins up, baby. Love you all. Peace.